Listen closely, because starting this July, money is quietly disappearing from seniors' checks. No warnings, no phone calls. We're not talking about next year, folks. We're talking about right now, this month. 3 completely silent changes are landing on older Americans, and every single one is literally built to pull money straight out of your pocket. One can take a slice of your Social Security before it even hits your bank account. Another lets the government hold back half of your check for a mistake you didn't even make. And the third? It can quietly cut off the food assistance that millions absolutely depend on. So today, this explainer is going to show you exactly what these traps are and, more importantly, how you can stop them.
Now, the real danger here lies in the design. As the policy notes actually state, every one of these changes was written to happen in the background. Think about that. You won't get a letter with a bold red warning. You're just supposed to find out when your check arrives, and it's smaller than it should be. And by then, well, the money's already gone.
So we are tracking exactly 3 specific threats targeting fixed incomes this month. But hey, before panic sets in, I need you to understand this. For all 3 of these threats, there is a legal defense. But that door only opens if you know the threat is actually coming. Let's dive right in and look at exactly what's happening.
Threat number 1, the student loan trap.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, I'm retired, I don't have a student loan. But here's the thing. The government just switched the collection machine back on for defaulted federal student loans after a years-long pandemic pause. During that pause, a lot of people just assumed the debt went away. It absolutely didn't. This operates through something called the Treasury Offset Program. Basically, when a federal student loan defaults, the Treasury can garnish up to 15% of your Social Security benefit. And here is the real trap. This doesn't just target the students themselves. It targets grandparents and parents who co-signed or who took out Parent Plus loans years ago to help a kid or grandkid. If your name is on it, your Social Security is on the table.
The brutal math of this program is just devastating. The government is supposed to leave you with at least $750 a month. But let's say your standard check is $1,200. A 15% garnishment instantly vaporizes $180 every single month right off the top before you ever see a single dime. On a fixed income, $180 is the grocery budget. It's the light bill. It's your medication copay.
Take a look at the case of a 68-year-old grandmother. She's living modestly on Social Security, and she co-signed a loan a decade ago to help her grandson get through college. He struggled. The loan fell behind, and honestly, she hasn't thought about it in 10 years. Then suddenly, her check arrives nearly $200 short. She did absolutely nothing wrong. A collection switch was simply flipped in Washington, and it exposed roughly 450,000 Social Security recipients to this exact nightmare.
But here is your defense. Step 1. Apply for financial hardship relief with the Department of Education. If this garnishment prevents you from meeting basic living expenses, you can stop it. The government's own watchdog actually admits roughly 82% of affected seniors qualify for this relief. 82%! But it goes completely unclaimed because people just don't know it exists. Step 2. Get the loan out of default through rehabilitation or consolidation. You've got to contact your loan servicer immediately, the exact second that check shrinks.
All right, let's move to threat number 2, Social Security overpayment clawbacks.
If that first threat made you nervous, this one is going to sting, because it requires you to have absolutely no debt at all. Social Security is now aggressively clawing back money for their own past paperwork and math errors. An overpayment happens when Social Security decides they paid you more than they should have somewhere in the past. Now, for years, the old clawback rate was a pretty gentle 10% withholding. It stung a bit, sure, but it was survivable. But earlier this year, the agency shifted to a brutal 50% withholding rate. They can literally hold back half of your monthly benefit to pay for a mistake you didn't even make. This is completely devastating for a retiree's budget.
Consider this 71-year-old retiree. He gets a plain envelope in the mail stating he was overpaid 3 years ago, and they intend to recover it by holding back half of his checks starting next month. The guy never got a raise. He never hit any income. The mistake was entirely their paperwork, not his. But you know what? That letter isn't asking for permission. It's demanding payments. And the sheer scale of this operation is staggering. Nearly 2 million families are facing a piece of this exact scenario. It's a $23 billion collection effort by the government. That means millions of letters going out and millions of checks about to be cut right in half. Most folks are going to assume they just have to take the hit, but I'm telling you that assumption is incredibly expensive.
Because you actually have 3 really powerful defense moves here. First, whatever you do, do not ignore the 90-day window. That's generally the time you have before the withholding actually starts. Second, file a request for a lower rate. You can legally request they drop back down to that 10% withholding based on what you can actually afford, bringing your check back up.
And third, file an appeal and waiver. The waiver basically declares, look, this was not my fault, and I literally cannot afford to pay it back. Please forgive it. People win these waivers every single day, but only if they know to file them.
Which brings us to threat number 3, the SNAP age shift.
This one is the quietest and honestly the most surprising change of all, and it's pulling the rug right out from under older Americans who rely on food assistance. Under the old rule, if you were in your late 50s or early 60s, you were totally exempt from having to prove you were working to keep your SNAP benefits. But under the new rule, that protected bracket has just vanished. Abruptly, adults under age 65 are being forced to make a strict work requirement just to keep food on the table.
So now, a massive group of Americans who assumed they were perfectly safe must document 80 hours a month of work, approve job training, or volunteering. Guys, that's 20 hours every single week just to maintain the basic right to rely on food assistance.
Think about a 63-year-old woman who left her job to care for her husband with dementia. She hasn't retired, she's working around the clock as a caregiver, just without a paycheck. She really counts on SNAP to stretch their fixed income. Under the old rules, her age protected her. Under the new rules, unless she takes immediate action, she's expected to go find 20 hours a week of outside work or just go hungry. Over 1 million older adults are right in the crosshairs of this shift.
But again, we can fight back. You might actually still be exempt if you're medically unable to work, caring for an incapacitated family member, receiving disability or SSI, or of course once you actually reach age 65. The catch though? The government is not going to assume any of this for you. You have to contact your state SNAP office immediately to submit the paperwork. A doctor's note, proof of caregiving, the exemption only protects you if it is physically on file.
So, let's look at your defense action plan. The real core takeaway from all of this is that the bureaucratic machine relies heavily on seniors remaining completely in the dark. It counts on you not paying attention until your check shrinks or your benefits just stop. As the policy researchers noted, the people who get hurt are the people who did not know the options existed until the money was already gone. Being proactive with hardship claims for student loans, waivers for overpayments, and exemption forms for food assistance is literally the only way to beat this quiet system. You have far more power in this conversation than they want you to realize.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Who do you know over 60 living on a fixed income? Take a second and think of someone vulnerable that you love. A parent, a neighbor, a good friend. One of these 3 changes could be quietly targeting their check this July, and I can almost guarantee they haven't heard a word about it. Share this explainer with them. You taking action today could be the very reason they keep their hard-earned money. Stay vigilant out there, and I'll see you next time.